Hi guys, we're on investigation 4, kinetic energy, part 2, liquid expansion and contraction. And we're going to look at something that is slightly different today than what we looked at with the first video. Right now we're going to look at the second video, which is going to use different materials, and we're also going to investigate the same thing. Now if you look up to this screen, you can see the materials that we will be using. There is a syringe that is filled with blue water. Now the reason the water is dyed blue in this video is because water itself is clear, so it's difficult to see. So it is dyed blue just so you can see it a little easier. There is a glass bottle right here, a rubber stopper, a yellow piece of small paper, some tubing, and a pipette. So the first thing we're going to do is take this tubing and insert it in the rubber stopper. And then we'll put that to the side. Then we're going to take our blue water and fill up the glass bottle. Now the reason she's pointing to the syringe is because it is measured out how much water goes into this. It's going to be completely filled. And then we'll take our rubber stopper with the piping and put it into the top. We will lose some water, but not a big deal. Just want to make sure that bottle is completely filled, that there is no air inside that glass bottle. In order to do so, we need to get the air out of the tubing, which is the bubbles that you see coming up and out right now. That is the air leaving the tubing. So all that's left in that tubing is the water on the bottle and the air. There's a little bit of air on top. We want to adjust that rubber stopper now so that the water level only comes about halfway up. You'll see why we want to do that in a few minutes. Water level can only go about halfway up here. Now we're going to take that yellow paper, and she is going to tape it onto the plastic tubing so that we can have an accurate measurement of where the water level sits. I'm sorry if you hear my dog walking around. She has some rather noisy paws going tonight. Okay, so now that that is taped on, we're going to take a look at where the water level sits at room temperature. So draw a line and mark it with an R for room temperature. It is hard to see on this, looking at this view, because the tape is blocking your angle, but it definitely sat that way on there for room temperature. Now we're going to put the entire bottle system in some cold water, and up in the top right of the screen they're going to show you a time-lapse video, and they're moving it fairly quickly. It's moving faster than it actually did. They sped it up so you can watch where the water levels go compared to where they were when it was at rest in room temperature. And you can see that the water levels are slowly decreasing as it sits in the cold water. We're going to let it sit in that cold water and not take an accurate measurement until the water seems to have stabilized and is not moving anymore. We're right about the 2-minute mark right now, and it is still moving very slowly. So slowly it's hard for me to even see it moving slowly, but it is definitely moving, or they would have stopped the video by now. We are at about the 3-minute mark here, and it is still, you can see a little bit of adjustment there. But now she's taken it out and marked it as C. That is in the cold water. You can see where the water level was in cold water. So now it's coming out and going into the hot water. And with the time-lapse video again, watch the level of the water. We are about 25 seconds in, and you can see the water level has definitely risen. It was down at the cold water level when it started, and is now above the room temperature level, and it is still rising. We're about 1.5 minutes in, and you can see that it is significantly higher at this point. 2 minutes in, and it's still moving. Moving very slowly, but still moving a little bit. Once it has stopped moving, I'm going to take it and mark it with an H for hot. So you can see right here that the water level for cold was at the bottom, and it was the lowest. The lowest level was with the cold temperatures. The next level up is at room temperature, and that was slightly higher than the cold temperature. And then if we look really far up top there, that is where the hot water level was. And it was much higher than the cold water level or the room temperature level. So the hot water level was the highest. Now please keep in mind, we did not change the amount of water that was in this system. It was the same amount of water. We didn't add any, we didn't take any away. The only thing that was changed was the temperature around it, which eventually changed the temperature of the water itself. So as the temperature of the water changed, we can see what it did to the water levels. So higher temperatures will lead to higher water levels. Lower temperatures will lead to lower water levels. What caused the water level in the pipe to change when you put the bottle in cold water? What caused it to change when you put it in hot water? And what do you think happened to the water particles in the bottle system when it was placed in the hot water? What was the big change that allowed it to go so high? So at this point, we'll stop this video, and we are going to move on to our Nearpod presentation so that we can continue this lesson a little further.